for the sake of the argument that the person we're talking to does say, oh, well, maybe God does exist. Why Christianity? Well, you could start with evidence for the resurrection. It might be, if they're coming from an atheistic background, that they're an evidence-driven kind of person, a rationalistic kind of person. You could say, well, actually, there is good historical evidence for thinking that Jesus rose from the dead. And they might say, oh, well, okay, what is it? And you could say, here's an example, that there's a man called Gary Habermas, and with his colleague Michael Licona, these guys have catalogued every single book and every single article that credentialed scholars have published on the resurrection of Jesus since 1975. Every article published by atheists, every book written by agnostics, including Christians as well, they catalogued all of these numerous publications, thousands of them, and then totted up the percentage scores to see which are the facts that the vast majority of skeptical scholars would accept as being historical facts. So which are the different details about the resurrection? Here are the top 4 in no particular order. Number 1, that Jesus was crucified and died as a result. Secondly, that Jesus' tomb was empty. Thirdly, that Jesus' disciples believed that he rose and that he appeared to them. And then the 4th one is all to do with the conversion of skeptics, like, for example, the Apostle James and Saul of Tarsus. So the vast majority of scholars, including atheists and agnostics, think that these 4 are reliable historical facts. We then need to ask, okay, if we accept what most historians think, what is the best explanation for these facts? And it just so happens that when you run all the alternative theories, the disciples hallucinated, Jesus never died on the cross, the one that best fits all 4 facts is actually the resurrection explanation. This is called the minimal facts approach. And that is something that will at least make the person you're talking to think, okay, you're not just trotting out fairy stories, you're referring to actual historians that don't believe in Jesus and aren't Christians. They're saying the tomb was empty. They're saying Jesus died on the cross. They're saying that the disciples genuinely believed that Jesus had appeared to them. We have to come up with something to account for the existence of Christianity. Christianity exploded into life in the 1st century amongst people who were monotheistic Jews who'd been brought up to believe that the big sin was to say that any human being is God. That's idolatry. We know that thousands of monotheistic Jews suddenly stood on their heads theologically and said that a carpenter was God. The best explanation for this fact is the resurrection of Jesus from the dead.